Cek 1, 2, 3. Cek 1, 2, 3, cek 1.
Ada masalah ya?
Enggak sih, Pak.
Good morning and the warmest welcome we extend with our greatest honor Dr. Elian Ubalijoro, the CEO of Center for International Forestry Research or CIFOR ICRAF, Dr. Himlal Baral, the senior researcher of CIFOR ICRAF and all colleges of CIFOR ICRAF. And then the Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences Udayana University, the Honorable Professor Dr. Niluhwati Niasih, the Vice Dean and the Coordinator of Study Program within the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences Udayana University. Also Head of Bureau of Cooperation and Information Unit in this event is represented by Ibu Hamidiah. Distinguished guests, Dr. Takashi Takama from Sureko, academic staff and students from Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Faculty of Marine and Fisheries, Environmental Science Department of Postgraduate Faculty, Udayana University. Om Swastiastu, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, and peace for all of us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the guest lecture by Dr. Elian Ubalijoro, the CEO of CIFOR ICRAF, Friday, May 26, 2023, in Udayana University. In the beginning of this event, I would like to invite all attendees to stand up to sing Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya. Attendee may be seated. As the opening of this event is the welcome address by the Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, which will be continued by the report on the implementation of the MOU and the letter of intent between FMIPA and CIFOR. To Professor Wati Niasih, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Namo Buddhaya, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. the Honorable Dr. Elian Ubalijoro, the Honorable Bapak Himlal from CIFOR, Aircraft, and the team, the Honorable from Ibu Diah from Kantor Kerjasama, Bidang Kerjasama, Universitas Udayana, Bapak Koordinator Program Studi di lingkungan Fakultas Matematika Universitas Udayana, Bapak Ketut Ginantra, Bapak Profesor Agung Darmadi, Ibu Eswaryanti, who take care of these events as a head of unit, collaboration unit at Faculty of Mathematics, Udayana University, Professor Rupiasih, as the Vice Dean of Student Affairs, Faculty of Mathematics and Science, Professor and other staff at Faculty of Biology, Faculty of Mathematics Science at Fakultas University Udayana University, and all participants who come and attend this event. So on behalf of Rector Udayana University Rectorate, who couldn't come for this meeting, and I present her apology because she has another meeting that's very urgent, as an executive meeting now happening at Denpasar campus. Actually, the Vice Rector of Collaboration, by Rector Fu, want to come today, but because we are far apart, the places, so he delegated me as a representative to welcome you at Udayana University in representing our collaboration work from CIFOR Aircraft and Udayana University. We hope that this collaboration might bring us a good a good result of what we can do for our environment particularly, and for all of us at Udayana University for collaborate within work that we will do. So in terms of collaboration, of course, we seeking a lot more collaborative work for all over the world, particularly for what we already done between CIFOR Aircraft and Udayana University. We've been working actually for around 3 years, and the result is performing and very well, and now we met here to have to see what we've done and then what might be done in the future. So for very short welcome, that's what I can say to you, just welcoming you all, and thank you for coming to Bali, and for Dr. Elian, welcome to Bali, to Udayana University. Wishing that you have a nice time, a good time in Bali, and Pak Himlan as well. Is you appreciate for many times here, and still we need your work and the team as well from CIFOR Aircraft. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, open. All right, on behalf of Rector Udayana University, I open this event. Thank you. So now I continue to represent what we've done with, during our collaboration between Faculty of Mathematics and Science and CIFOR Aircraft in Bali. Thank you. Please be ready for my presentation. Okay, I just got the short idea, and in very short time actually, what should I plan to talk? And as you know, maybe we have, we should think always about natural conservation. So how we conserve nature, but we are so small. I mean, even though in a small act, we have to think always about natural conservation. It's bring me, I mean, in a thought that even though Bali is small, we still thinking about how we think about plants, animals, and culture, and all other things around us. I got that title, Natural Conservation, Small Scale Project has a big impact. So, next please. So a little bit of what we face today about climate change. As you know, and we just brainstorming, I think, just remind us always and always that climate change is happening. That should we think about how we act, how we can prevent that. So what the cause, what the impact of the climate change. So it's a lot of things. Plants are dying. It's affected so much with the climate change, drought, and all other pests, for example, all other things that impacted plant that can't survive anymore. But the big thing is the drought that we face because of the changing of the weather. And even today, the day is much hotter than the other years. So in Bali, predicted that almost 45% the area in Bali will be affected by the drought this year. I just got a report from news actually, from BMKG. So the biodiversity loss, of course, we face that. We have lots of corals, for example, dying because of increase in small amount of temperature, or even probably 1 degree temperature can affect the coral reef very, very much. So ocean acidification can avoid it because the nutrient that's come to the ocean can affect of the ocean life. Extreme weather, we face it many, many times. Indonesia has recently, about 2 months ago, even earlier, we've got lots of floodings in other area. Even in Bali, we've got landslide. That's probably affected by climate change, as well as lots of animal species can't question anymore because we, with a small change in the habitat of the animal will affect, the animal can't live anymore or even dying, and we lose it. Change of ecosystem services. We just have a small talk with Dr. Elian that even though a meter of land that we lost, it meant lots to our loss in the woods. Next, please. So what can we do? How we act? So I just got that from a source that we have to have first, like today, we have international cooperation in a small scale. We do it now. We try to save our environment with this small meeting, which hopefully we have a big impact to our environment, to save the environment. So first is probably, reducing the use of energy. So I've got that example of Earth Day and Nyepi Day. Probably this is information that Dr. Elian taught earlier. See, we have in 24 hours, we don't have light, we don't have activity, we don't have amusement, we just stay at home. So to make the environment in a rest for 24 hours. But I think, a bit greedy, I think, but it's applied in the world as well. So with 1 Earth Day, so 1 hour without light for all of us, that encouraged by for all of us in the world. So, awareness and education. So we've done it a lot actually as a university members. We do a community service, giving advice and knowledge to community how we can save the environment, particularly in a small amount, but it has, I mean, probably we go to the school to teach them how we can save the environment. The small thing might be how we separate the waste that we make. Enhance resilience and adaptation. Bali with, I'm sorry, that's why I got a small egg but a big impact. Bali as a small island has a traditional culture we call on dividing water and saving the environment. We call it subak. So from a long time ago, we practice the subak. That's how the farmers divide water, so everyone get water equally to grow their own crop. And at the same time, for a couple of times, so for example, 2 times they're planting rice paddies, but in another time they're planting like vegetable. So at that case, means that the pest would cut off. So for a certain amount, usually for probably 4 months, it's quite a long time for crop pest to demolish. Policy and renewable energy. So by using more environmentally friendly energy, we can do that, and also sustainable agriculture and circular economy. So we're thinking about with CIFOR, ICRAP, of course, we're thinking about that way, how we can act to save our environment. Thank you. So next, please. So now, what we've done for the last 3 years between Udayana University and CIFOR, ICRAP. Next, please. So we have 3 big projects already, big, small, but big for us. It's impact a lot. So in our university and for environment, I think. So it's the establishment of Pongamia pinnata seedlings at Mount Batu. So 1 UNESCO Global Park in Bali, located in Kintamani, Bangli. Maybe tomorrow you will visit that area. So the AVOCO, the Community Government Restoration, Recreation and Livelihood in Batu UNESCO Global Geopark in Indonesia as well for climate resilience. And the third is Universitas Udayana University from Ecosystem Services and Carbon Dynamics of Mangrove Species. Next, please. So I report a little bit what we've done in each of that topic. So this is the location of where the Pongamia pinnata was planted. Is in that's Mount Batu. There's a caldera on that side, but this is the area where the Pongamia is. It is a before, but now it's growing. Anyway, where the place the Pongamia was planted. Next, please. On that act, we also involving the community. So how they can contribute is by taking care of what we've already planted and giving a small incentive, of course, for them to get. So they spreading all the thing. I mean, that's called economic circle, even though a small amount, but affect a lot to the community. Next, please. So this is the way that Bu Arpi, we actually, as a PI, is the leader of this project. With the team, they collected the seed and then planting the seed. The plantation that I think is in somewhere at our campus, Bu Arpi, yeah, on that seed planting, and then they grown a seedling and then selected before planting in that area. They have to select the good one to be planted in the field. and seeding ready to bring to the plant. And this is when we planting seedling in the field about a year ago. Yeah, a year ago, 2021. Again, I can't remember the date. And now it's growing already. It's about a meter or higher. Now it's fast growing, but yeah, the community take care of it. That's why they can grow in the very harsh, quite harsh environment. Actually, there's a tiny amount of soils, but need a lot of water. Bu Arpi take care of Pak Himlal and the team take care of it very well. So it's growing now. Now start to select it, I think, in the stages later. Next, please. This is the stage that they want to do. The plan in terms of Bu Arpi is a plan will be until 2027 when the seed has harvested and the good seed for certified can be achieved. So now every year there is a time or a plan that they can do. They have to do. I mean, spacing stage 1, spacing stage 2, and putting the honey box as well because they produce very nice and a good source of nectar and pollen. So we plan to put a honey box over there so they can produce much more seeds. Okay, at the end we hope that we have certified seeds that can circulate over the world. Next, please. For the APOCO, the main objective is to obtain the principle or guidelines of land-based and community-based economic revitalization to enhance disaster and climate change resilience. Next, please. So this is, as I mentioned earlier, that the community is very, very important when you plan something in the area that we want to conserve. So this is Mount Batu. This is the caldera that I show you. This is the actual report prepared by Ibu Prof. Dayu Astarini. So I already got permission for presenting this. In this area, there is an area where the geopark is. So the inner part of, there are 15 villages, the inner part. So a lot of community, but as I say, small talk, we try to conserve them. How the community can live within the conservation area, but they obey. They don't destroy that area. Next, please. But in the outer part, in a larger area of Kintamani, there's another 33 villages, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't miss it. Yeah, 33 villages as well. That's how they can go together and how they obey. Even though they're small, very, very close area, not that huge area, but how they can go together to conserve the environment. It's the way we think of preserving them. As probably just a bit of information, in Bali, as our culture, as Hinduism, we obey 2 times of 1 times every 6 months. We pray for the God for preserving the plants, and we pray for the God for preserving the animals. So we obey them all. So that's how we try to feel that environment is among us. Next, please. The summary of what the APOCO get for now is main agriculture activities in that area is onion farming. So they have to think how they can help them, because that in that area people are farming onions, and then developing natural agriculture farming by cultivating black soldier flies. They have done it already, but it hasn't got much a huge number yet, but still needed lots of them. And the potential of plant ornamental flowers, because the area is quite cool, it can be planted. That's how it can improve the community economic in a small area. And development of hillside as look site tomorrow, as maybe Ibu Ali and others come to there and can have the outlook. It's very beautiful. Even me, it amazed me. And potential for citrus and coffee plantation, area of camping site and outer villages already there, but still managed to probably the tourists who come there have to obey how they behave in that area because it's conservation area. And unique culture activities. There's a little bit of picture behind it. Next, please. This is that the community have, as a farmers, they plant onions, and they also produce the black flies farm to help to reduce the organic matters that fasten organic matters reduction in the field, and then they use it for organic farming. And ornamental plants that can develop or growing over there, and they have, because it's nice scenery, it's got good outlooks for the tourists as well, but still conserving the area. And coffee plantation, and because we have ancient village over there, very ancient village. Once information for you might be they don't bury the corpse, they just lie down in the and above the ground. But they have a very unique culture only in that area. Next, please. Well, for ecosystem services, first, what we think as the objective is the primary data collection using similar standards between what have been done between NIFOS and Udayana University and CIFOR aircraft to get a very well result to be announced or to be published actually. So for that we already with Pak Himlal in Bali, and NIFOS, we have a symposium for that work held in Parama Hotel. And then actually there is 2 students already working on that area. One is PhD student and one undergrad student under mine. Next, please. So this is the what we've done in the area of mangroves. It's still okay. We might visit the mangrove, but not in this area, in the other area. Yeah, but we have a quite huge area of mangrove in Bali. We will visit. So this is what the team and that come to that day, and then this is the activities that we actually do in the field. There's a quite nice footpath as well, but unfortunately it's not open for the community as they still conserve it after G20 event. Next, please. So as I'm on behalf of Faculty of Mathematics now, I want to present a little bit of what we hope that we can do more. As you know, at university, we have 3 main duties actually as a teachers: for academic, for education, research, and community services. In this event as well, we plan to have a community service tomorrow. Even though we plan today, but it's quite short time, but we move for tomorrow. But today we might visit the mangrove because the community will be, the services will be done in the mangrove area. So what we've done tomorrow is go around mangrove and collecting some rubbish and try to check what the area, where the area is should be planted for mangrove species that we plan for tomorrow. So all this requirement can be implemented in this collaboration work, of course. That's what we're hoping actually. So with all of you here, you might come to our university, to come to our faculty or study program to give a lecture of what you've done and experience and knowledge to share to our students so they can have a wider thinking about what's happening in the world. Having research to teach, share knowledge to the university, and vice versa, sending students to study out of the university for 6 months. We have the program called Freedom of Learning. So our student at university can go for 6 months outside the university, international or nationally, to get an experience. Wider thought. That's very important for you guys. And wider networking to benefit for students and researchers. Next, please. Okay, what we think that we can do in the future is a continuation of the current projects, finding more research funding for international sources. That what we hope from the CIFOR aircraft can help us to find more money, more funding for doing projects in Indonesia or in the world. Collaborating between us, involving more members in the project, increasing number of publications, more scientific meetings, maybe having seminars, conference by CIFOR aircraft in collaboration at our university. So that's how probably we promote us to be known more wider and wider. I think that's all. Next, please, if there is still some. Well, thank you. That's all that I can present for you. I hope that you have an insight that what we've done already. So more in the future, we wish to be held between collaboration between us. Thank you very much. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Namo Buddhaya, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Watiniasi, for welcoming us and also for the presentation. If you could stay on the stage because we will have photo session prior to the main program, we would like to invite Dr. Elian Ubalijoro and Dr. Himlal to join the group photo session on the stage. Also the Vice Dean, also Ibu Dia, to join the group photo on the stage. Thank you, and please be seated. And before we start to the main program, I would like to inform that if you need restroom, you can find it outside of this room on the right corner. And next, we will continue with the main program, which will be led by Dr. Fain Marinat Salviani Inabui, that we usually call her Dr. Fima. Dr. Fima is an academic staff at the Biology Study Program, specialized on plant molecular biology. She undertook her bachelor and magister degree at the Institute of Technology Bandung, whereas her PhD was obtained at the Washington State University. And now, please welcome Dr. Fima.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. First of all, welcome to Bali and welcome to Udayana University, Dr. Elian and Dr. Himlal. It is a great honor for us to have you here with us and to host your lecture. On behalf of the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, thank you for visiting and taking time to share your knowledge and your experience to us all here this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will have a lecture given by Dr. Elian Ubalijoro and Dr. Himlal Baral. First of all, let me introduce Dr. Elian Ubalijoro is the CEO of the Center of International Forestry Research and Development and the International Council for Research in Agroforestry. It's quite a long name. Or we know as CIFOR ICRAF. It is the world's leading research and development center in forests, trees, and landscape. And our second speaker is Dr. Himlal Baral. He is a senior researcher in CIFOR ICRAF. And today we will have their talk. So I would like to welcome and invite the two of you to please come and join me on the stage. Please give them a warm applause. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you can sit here. Yeah, you can sit. Okay, all right. And along with us, we will also invite our Honorable Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Ibu Profesor Watiniasi, to please join with us on the stage. Thank you. Dr. Elian's topic today is CIFOR, is it ICRAF or ICRAF? Okay, CIFOR ICRAF, Trees, People, Planet. Following that, Dr. Himlal will present the second topic of climate smart agroforestry for balancing food, energy, and environmental conservation. And then the question and answer session will be following after Dr. Himlal's talk. Ladies and gentlemen, realizing or not, we are now facing the urgent issues on biodiversity loss, climate change, food insecurity, and livelihood inequality around the globe. Today, Dr. Elian will highlight these issues, revealing the gaps and discuss what efforts CIFOR and ICRAF has done and has been doing to address those issues and to create more sustainable and impactful solution. For Dr. Elian, with our great honor, time and stage is yours. Thank you. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you today and to talk to you about CIFOR ICRAF. So I'm still very new to CIFOR ICRAF. I started May 1st of this month. So Himlal is here with me to really give you the past history. And just wanted to put this in context in terms of, I used to be based in Canada, where I was the executive director of an initiative called Sustainability in the Digital Age, and I was the Canada Hub director for Future Earth. And so today, what I really want to talk about is my excitement on how I see the work that I have been doing for years in Canada being able to translate into growing the work of CIFOR ICRAF, that in the way we use forests, trees, and agroforestry to stop biodiversity collapse, climate catastrophe, food insecurity, declining livelihoods, and inequity. So one of the things that's really important about this work, I don't know if the slides can be put up. Yeah, second slide. Next slide, please. So when the next slide comes up, what you're going to realize is that today there's a total of investment of over $2 billion in this space. And what we knew is that in our work at CIFOR ICRAF, with those $2 billion, what we've been able to do is we've been working with over 159 partners in 2,300 projects in 62 nations around the world. And of those, today we have 192 active partnerships that have been cited in 46,000 articles in 2022, right now. And what we know is that we have 700 research and development staff all around the world. We have many based in Indonesia, we have some here in Bali, we have many based in Africa, in Latin America, and in Europe as well. And so if you move to the next slide. Okay, so one of the really important challenges that we are looking at is the issues of deforestation and biodiversity loss. What we know is that over 50% of the world's tropical forests have been destroyed. We know that we need to restore as many of those forests by 2030. On average, we have 137 species that are driven to extinction in tropical rainforests every day. And so this is why I think the work of producing new seeds is so important. And also, we know that 27% of assessed species are threatened of extinction. And so the reality is human survival depends on forests, yet deforestation and forest degradation continue unabated. CIFOR ICRAF provides solutions on global restorations, where we know that the world aims to restore nearly 1 billion hectares of degraded land. And this is why the work we're doing in Bali is so important, because it's about how do we reach the smallest communities that are critical to the livelihoods of people everywhere on the planet. What we know is over 580 million smallholder farmers feed 75% of the population on the planet. So how we reach small communities is very important. And the work that happened in islands is even more important because of the fragility that these islands represent. And as a previous speaker was noting, every time land is lost, this is millions of dollars in value to the economy that is lost and in sustainable livelihoods. So what we also see is that tree productivity and diversity are really critical to safeguarding diversity, domesticating trees, and delivering tree planting materials to growers. If we need to plant 1 billion trees, 1 billion hectares around the world, that's trillions of trees. So somebody has to plant those seedlings and ensure they're high quality. We also need to ensure that we have soil and land health for food and nutrition security, for national restoration goals, and for climate commitments. Again, this is also really critical in terms of livelihoods. Next slide, please. So the other big challenge that we face is runaway climate change. So global temperature is predicted to rise by 3 degrees. So this is really important. Where I was living in Canada, people are happy about that on some level because that means the winters are milder. But for places where we're already in the tropics, that 3 degrees can be the difference between trees growing or dying. So the urgency is here. And at the same time, in very northern climates like in Canada, what we realize is that acceleration is 4 times greater than elsewhere. So even though they're happy because it's warmer and there's less snow, what is happening is that the snow caps are melting, so we're seeing more flooding happening, and we're seeing more droughts in other areas because we have lowering water tables, and this is where we're seeing fires even in the middle of winter in Russian boreal forests. So it's a real time of urgency in terms of the work we need to do to really help restore land and deal with climate change. We also know that 23% of human-caused greenhouse gas emissions are from forestry, agriculture, and other uses. But we also know that this is a great opportunity to look at how can forestry and agriculture be sources of carbon sequestration, of cooling, and for more revitalized food systems. So this is where the work we're doing together is so important. At the same time, peatlands are the natural largest carbon stores, holding over 25% of global soil carbon, twice that of the world forest. So how we restore peatlands is even more critical as we race towards keeping the temperature of the planet cool. So global heating threatens life on our planet. At CIFOR-ICRAF, we work to raise high on the global agenda carbon-rich wetlands, peatlands, mangroves, like I'm going to have the opportunity of visiting here in Bali, and seagrasses. We also see the importance of mitigating climate change by conserving trees in the ground and increasing tree cover. We also think that it's really important that we adapt to climate change through nature-based solutions, forest conservation, and climate-smart agriculture. And in order to do this well, we know we need to leverage multi-sector collaborations for bioeconomic solutions, for the blue economy and for the green economy. Next slide, please. So the third big challenge is we have dysfunctional food systems. As I said in the previous slide, much of our greenhouse gas emissions of that 23% are caused from systems of agriculture that are really degrading our emissions of greenhouse gases. So we also know that in terms of our food systems, 11% of people are undernourished around the world. 30% of food are wasted. And at the same time, we know that 26% of all greenhouse gas emissions result from food production. So what we know is that really these unsustainable agricultural practices destroy forests, degrade land, and accelerate climate change. CIFOR-ICRAF scientists use agroecology to meet global demand for food without damaging natural resources. We really see the importance of expanding forestry, tree-on farms, farming in forests and at forest margins, and in tree crop production. We need to increase food and nutrition security in wild and cultivated tree-based landscapes because this is important to indigenous populations and to all local populations. And at the same time, we also know we need to optimize the use of wild animals for food, medicine, and income to ensure that indigenous natural food systems can be preserved while at the same time preserving biodiversity. And we cannot ignore the needs of indigenous populations. Next slide, please. The fourth challenge we see as really critical is unsustainable value chains. Currently, these unsustainable value chains cause 80% of deforestation in the Amazon due to cattle ranching. We also know that 50% of supermarket products contain palm oil, and that 75% of soya production is used as feed for livestock. So how do we go about being able to produce the needed feed for livestock, understand that palm oil is very important for economies around the world, but also do that in ways that improve people's livelihoods and ensure biodiversity preservation? So despite private sector commitments to zero deforestation and unsustainable supply chains, evidence of change falls short. CIFOR-ICRAF works to champion innovative business models and investments to trigger sustainable practices in forest product and tree crop value chains. We see this as really important because how we partner with private sector is critical to how we're going to meet the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. While I was in Montreal in December, COP15 was the largest biodiversity COP that has happened in the world. And it was the first one where over 1,000 of the largest companies around the world, worth $1 trillion in annual GDP, asked to be regulated because they know that nature is critical to their profits. And they say, we cannot do good business if we do not take care of nature. So at CIFOR ICRAF, we want to partner with these private sector partners to accelerate the good we can do, the government partnerships that will help us accelerate the goals that national determined targets require them to achieve around the Paris Agreement, while at the same time, how do we increase the incomes of smallholder farmers and small businesses all around the world? So one of the things we see is really important is leveraging public-private partnerships to make value chains more sustainable, inclusive, and efficient, particularly in the oil, palm, and cocoa sectors that we know are very important to Indonesia. We also know that the use of non-timber forest products to improve smallholders' livelihoods and maintain ecosystem services and biodiversity are really important. And so the next challenge, next slide please, that we see as really important to tackle is extreme inequality. On average, what we know is that 10% of people live in extreme poverty, including 1 in 5 children. At the same time, we also know that we have about 3,000 billionaires on the planet that make half of the income on the planet every year. So how do we balance these inequalities that are so huge? Of the poorest on the planet, what we know of these that live in extreme poverty, more than 90% depend on forests for at least part of their livelihoods. So how we partner with the poorest on the planet and the wealthiest on the planet to bring about the needed solutions for nature is going to be more and more important. In the Global South alone, 43% of agricultural workers are women. How we center women around these goals between now and 2030 are even more critical to future generations. We know that Africa and Asia together, by the end of the century, will represent 80% of the population on the planet. So we know that how we are going to be working with women in Asia and Africa is going to be very critical to keeping the temperature cool and to achieving the opportunities that these challenges are bringing about. So women, rural communities, and indigenous peoples have reduced access to basic human needs and livelihood opportunities. At CIFOR ICRAF, we really see that applying research that really highlights gender dynamics to inform policy and practice on rights and justice and social inclusion is really important. We also feel that introducing multi-stakeholder platforms in landscape governance in the work we're doing in Brazil, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Peru can be models that can be scaled elsewhere in the Global South. We also feel that it's very important to inform policymakers, practitioners, and communities on tenure reform, especially to ensure that women have access to ownership of land. Because without that ownership, it's very difficult to get loans to improve our livelihoods. Next slide, please. So these global challenges have local impact. And so this slide really shows the areas where CIFOR ICRAF works, where we want to have more impact, and where we hope to partner with governments, with private sector, with smallholder farmers, with small businesses, with local communities, indigenous people, youth, and women to really scale our capacity to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide. So what I'd like to do now is pass it on to my colleague Himlal to tell you about the wonderful work we're doing here, and we're looking forward to scaling with all of you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Ilian. So that's what we have been doing and what we would like to achieve to make this world better, sustainable for both human and also the nature as well. So I will just share some of our work. As you heard, we completed more than 2,200 projects, and more than 200 projects are already active, so I can't summarize this, but I will highlight some of our work in Eastern Indonesia and what we can do also in Bali. So the title here is Climate Smart Agroforestry is one of the solutions, not only the solution, but one solution that provides multiple opportunities. Next slide, please. So the question here is, what is the land is for? Like what we would like to. We have a limited amount of land which will not be expanded or we cannot extend, and how we can manage this. Do we need food? We also need food, we need energy, we need materials, and also environment conservation. So how do we balance this all at landscape scale? I think our CIFOR ICRAF work is focused on that, how we can optimize the land and make maximum use of this land while protecting the environment and helping the communities. Next slide, please. So actually from our work in various part of the world, so we work more than 60 countries, I guess maybe sometime the number is increasing. So what we see is it's not a competition of food or energy or environment conservation. If we plan and manage very well at landscape scale, so it's just a balance. We can achieve all of these goals within a landscape. So using this, the billions of hectares, like as Elian mentioned, that we have to restore more than 1 billion hectares by 2030. So while Indonesian government has a clear plan to restore 14 million hectares by 2030. So if we use those degraded or underutilized land to grow food, energy, and also environment conservation, it opens multiple opportunities for all of us. Next one, please. So climate change and its impacts in Eastern Indonesia, including Bali, was already highlighted by Ibu Wati earlier, so I don't want to go much detail. We have been experiencing this, too much rain sometime, and drought, and cyclones, and many other climate extreme events in Eastern Indonesia, around the world. Indonesia, Eastern Indonesia, also Bali is not an exception. So we need to find a solution. So this is, we can't solve this overnight. So we need a climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies so that we can live this and also make our environment better. Next one, please. So this is the topics I would like to highlight today is climate smart agroforestry system. So harmonizing agriculture, forestry, animal husbandry, fishery, this all depending on what available where, what opportunities available where in one landscape, so that we can fight against climate change and also helping the communities to sustain their livelihood and income. So this is one solution. So this is actually practiced by the farmers for thousands of years, but this is just a new terminology or technology that climate smart agroforestry is just upgrade or improve on what farmers are already practicing. That's, and identify what are the best practices where and scale it up to the scale what we need. So the next one. So agroforestry has both like opportunity for climate change adaptation and also the mitigation. So these are the specific things, like it will reduce the threats and enhance the resilience of the landscapes with the agroforestry practices. These are the specific activities what we can actually achieve from climate change, from agroforestry to solve the climate change adaptation. I don't want to go on details. These slides will be available to all of you after this talk. And also the mitigation. So when we have we increase the trees on palm, so it will help to sequester atmospheric carbon dioxide and store in the landscape. So it will help to mitigate the climate change. So it has both components, adaptation as well as mitigation. Next slide, please. So agroforestry also provides multiple ecosystem goods and services which are vital for our human survival and well-being. So that provides provisioning services such as food production and materials, regulating services such as climate regulation, water regulations, nutrient regulation, and so on, and cultural services and supporting services. Those services are identified and listed here. Agroforestry-based ecosystem services not only provide the benefit to the farms, although the individual farmer is looking after the agroforestry, but these benefits are available to wider communities, such as biodiversity conservation and climate regulation are benefit not only in the site, but beyond the agroforestry sites. Next one, please. So agroforestry has also potential to contribute to several sustainable development goals. As you can see, so at least 9 of the 17 sustainable development goals, agroforestry will directly contribute, and it will contribute indirectly to many other sustainable development goals. So this is only one approach we call climate smart agroforestry, but has multiple benefits. Next one, please. So this one is actually, when we talk about agroforestry, this is from Indonesia, Bureau of Agriculture Statistics. As you can see that smallholder farmers are the producer for our food and energy and material. So as you can see that almost every commodity, so that's produced by smallholder farmer. In case of oil palm, so it's almost 36% of oil palm is produced by smallholder farmers. If you look at other commodities, it's almost smallholder farmer are the producers. So they are the one who can practice. They are the one who choose the practice. Now we need to work with them or support with them to how to manage the land sustainable way. So agroforestry is one of the vehicle or one of the approach what we have found. Next one, please. So this is this table shows you the average land how the smallholder farmer manage and what is their productivity. So there is a huge potential that's current productivity and future productivity. That was highlighted by Ibu Wati, said we are looking for like quality seeds, and also Elian mentions this quality seed is important. Just planting any seeds or any tree will not provide optimum benefit or maximum benefit to the smallholder farmer or the community who rely on it. So we need a highest quality of planting material so that we have a huge potential to increase the productivity of a smallholder farmer with the right planting material and better management practices. Next one, please. So these are some of the challenges, and there are some support required for a smallholder farmer. If we would like to encourage them, support them to produce more food, more energy, and more materials from a small piece of land or the land they are managing. So they are facing multiple challenges such as low crop productivities due to old plants, like they need to be replaced, like for example after rubber or oil palm, after certain years they need to replace with the new. So they need new planting materials. Sometimes they have a lack of production inputs such as capital, input capital, financial, and so in many cases there is lack of lack of clarity on legal, so that they cannot borrow the money from the bank and so on and so forth. So these farmers can be supported, smallholder farmer can be supported with quality planting materials, best planting combinations or planting techniques, access to the finance, and so on. Next one, please. So this is not from the from our Bali Eastern Indonesia. This is one example I would like to show you that type of work we are doing. So this is the peatlands. Many of you heard about peatland, and peatland stores peatlands are the most carbon-rich ecosystems. They store vast amount of carbon dioxide, but they are burning. So you have seen this at least in television or news, that every day is like when it's a dry season, so peatlands burn, and this has a huge impacts on environment, health, economy, and so on. So this is one particular sites in South Sumatra. Farmers burn their land, burn the peatland every dry season, so that, and they broadcast paddy, and to grow about roughly about 1 tons of rice per hectare per year. So while the environmental impacts are huge, like environmental, social, economic, and also political and transboundary effects. Sometimes fire and haze from Indonesia goes all the way to Singapore and Malaysia, which we have heard. So this is this kind of landscape. We are working with farmers, community groups, and local institutions such as Sriwijaya University in South Sumatra, to change as a climate smart agroforestry, which is called agro silvofishery approach, where we are improved planting techniques, so they can still grow rice, but with the trees, and has multiple values, wood and energy and materials, biomaterials, and also cultivation of various fish species. So that provides them opportunity to have a diverse income, while avoided emission, so avoided carbon emission from burning, also storing more carbon from sequestration more trees. So what we have seen is no burning, more food, more biomass, and no fire. So that's the result. This is one of the example. Next one, please. So this is a bit complicated graph, but in summary, what we are saying is sustainable biomass management practices. We can grow, the tree has biomass or bioenergy value, like which can be used for energy production, can grown very well in a landscape with agriculture production, so food and energy production. And these trees, the biomass component can go to multiple things, like biofuel production, can also go replace coal with biomass for electricity generation, and that can be fed to cattle. And this is a nice sustainable management systems, rather than having monoculture one crop system. So if you our research, CIFOR research in many parts of Australia, Africa, has demonstrated that growing Kaliandra and Glyceridia species with maize has produced almost double the maize yield, while comparing to the monoculture maize production. So this is very applicable, or can be replicated in eastern Indonesian NTT. So that farmers can grow food with energy. Next one, please. So this is our ongoing work, which Ibu Wati has highlighted in Batur UNESCO Geopark. But we have a much more bigger plan than what we have currently doing. So restoring Northeast Bali and Batur UNESCO Geopark, where our plan is to restore the degraded land using agroforestry for improved livelihood, ecosystem services through commodities, carbon, ecotourism, and also bioenergy. It's a very integrated idea. So we have been currently working with many funders, like so we are very excited. So Udayana University is naturally our partner in this, with Sureco Sustainability and Resilience company, which is a NGO based in Bali, and many other partners will be included. Next one, please. So when we talk about restoring this large amount of land, billions of hectares of land, or 14 million hectares in Indonesia, in Bali government identified around 43,000 hectares of degraded land in Bali. Also, although people think Bali is holiday island, where is the restoration side? But we will see a lot of degraded land in northeastern Bali, so where there is a huge opportunity to restore. So if you want to, how much 1 hectare of land, how much cost is required? So this is vary depending on what kind of land it is and what kind of restoration practices we would like to do. So it can be from couple of $100 or $300 to thousands of dollars, like $10,000, even more. So if you use a global average, like say around $2,500 to restore 1 hectare of land, so how much money you need to restore 14 million hectare of land in Indonesia? So same like, so it's very expensive. That's why we would like to promote this agroforestry approach, so where that farmers can produce their food and the land will be also restored as we go. Next slide, please. So this is one of the opportunities, like we can produce the energy, and while the energy, the restoration financing for restoration comes from the energy production. If the big energy companies they want sustainable feedstock, for example, seeds for oil production or biodiesel production, so they can contribute to the restoration goal, and they will ultimately get the product from there. So the tree species we can select that we don't need to cut it down. So the trees stay in the landscape and provide multiple ecosystem services, while only the fruits and nuts will be harvested and to produce biodiesel. But these species also have also can provide you other benefits such as honey production. So it attracts honeybee. Next one. So I'll just give you one example of the species which Ibu Wati mentioned earlier. Next one, please. So Pongamia pinnata. So this is native to Bali. This is native to Indonesia, native to Bali, and it is naturally pest resistant, salt tolerant, drought tolerant, and also nitrogen fixer. It's a legume, so it fixes sequestered atmospheric nitrogen and release to the soil. So it actually makes your agriculture lands better. Next one, please. And it has multiple uses, as you can see that the value, including biodiesel, and also it is proven to be aviation fuel. So actually from Pongamia we can produce aviation fuel. I was in Singapore last week to attend a meeting, roundtable on sustainable biomass production. So biomass and biomaterial was actually organized by Boeing and Neste, which are largest sustainable aviation fuel producer company, and they were very interested to see this kind of species and interested to collaborate with us, like to produce biofuel. And while this species produce provide multiple opportunity to the farmer. The next one, please. So this is the tree actually looks like. So that's in Kintamani. That's you can see next to onion, and then the seeds looks like, and that's the yield. So it's a tree with multiple. It's on campus actually. So if some of you want to go and see, we can show you in on campus. Next one. So with this, I would like to conclude by saying CIFOR is committed to forming meaningful partnership with universities like Udayana and many other partners, so that both parties benefits from the collaborations. So Ibu Wati highlighted what can university learn from or get from this kind of partnership. We also learn a lot from this partnership. So it's a mutual benefit. So if we do appropriately, the agroforestry has potential to produce multiple benefits: food, energy, and environment conservation. So it's not like we have heard. If you look at in the internet, people are saying, oh, there is not enough land available to produce biofuel or the energy production. It's not like there is plenty of land we need to restore, which we can use to produce biofuel production, and biofuel can also be integrated within the landscape. So it's not a competition, it's a balancing act. So smallholder farmers has a huge role to play. So they produce enormous amount of food and energy and materials. So we need to support them, encourage them to manage their land sustainably. So that will produce positive outcome to the climate and livelihood. So at CIFOR, we know there are many criteria, indicators available. So for what we talk, only 3-4 simple acts, like if we choose right tree species on right land with for the right purpose, with respecting people's life. So that's very important, or indigenous communities' rights. It's only 4 R, right tree on right land for the right purpose with respecting local right. I think this we will meet many sustainability criteria and indicators. So although we need to look many others, but these are the key things we are talking about. So dissemination of our best practices and results which we have been already achieved and demonstrating in many parts. So we would like to scale it up also in Bali Island, Indonesia, and elsewhere. So with CIFOR, working with CIFOR, we can bring the lessons from Africa to here, bring Asian lesson to Africa and elsewhere. So we can bring that. That's not many organization has that kind of capacity, so no presence in many part of the world. So our partnership, private-public partnership, and is also very, very important with this all. Thank you, everyone. So I conclude my.
Thank you very much for the very insightful talk for us, Dr. Elian and Dr. Himlal. Ladies and gentlemen, we already hear a lot about how research in CIFOR and ICRAF has been done to balance the needs for the food, the energy, and environmental conservation. It is also very interesting emphasized at the end of Dr. Himlal talk that we need to do in the right strategy, the right tree on the right place for the right purpose. Now we will, I believe we already have many questions that we would like to ask. So I would like to invite, if any of you have a question, please don't hesitate to raise up your hand and have question for both of our speakers today, also for our dean. Okay, thank you. On the left side, please. Please mention your name and your department. Yeah, if needed be, don't hesitate to ask in Indonesia as well. I would gladly help to translate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for. Okay, thank you for the opportunity, and let me introduce myself. My name is Putu Anggita Sekarpratiwi. I'm from Faculty of Mathematics and Science, and I'm here want to ask to Dr. Elian. Yes. Okay, we all know that nowadays the urgency of deforestation is getting bigger, but this accompanied by a very high population growth too. And my question is, what are the first steps we can take as a student of biologists regarding addressing this problem?
So the problem, the interface of population growth and deforestation?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a very
thank you.
tricky issue because it goes into cultural beliefs, into how we look at family, into family planning and, national guidelines related to this. At the end of the day, it's about the empowerment of women and girls. What we know is that when girls and women are allowed to study and pursue their studies for as long as they want to, what often happens is they delay starting their families and they delay getting married. So the more we empower women and girls to pursue their dreams, the more income they actually have when they start their families, the later they have their families, but often the smaller their families. And so they have more capacity to take care of their children, to ensure that they don't have any issues related to malnutrition, and as well that they're able to go to school and be healthy. So I think what is really important is how do we empower women and girls around the world, especially in the areas of the world where we have densely populated populations, and at the same time we have very high pressures on the environment. We need women and girls to be stewards of environmental change. There are a number of young women activists around the world, in Uganda, in Europe, but everywhere. We have wonderful young women and girls activists that are 15 years old and higher, And I think they're great examples of what we need to do. And I think when we associate the empowerment of women and girls to the stewardship of nature, we can accelerate both having more biodiversity on the planet, greater carbon sequestration, better food security, and at the same time, ensure that children, especially between the age of 0 and 5, that they have greater chance of a long, healthy life. So I think it's really important that we really look at that aspect to ensure that we have all the input. One of the expressions that I hear is that, if we don't empower women, it's like trying to do work with only one arm. And so we want both arms, we want both hands to be working together, because we only have 7 years to try and keep the temperature of the planet within 3 degrees Celsius. And what we know is that women, whatever income women make, most of it goes back into their families and into the local communities. And so the likelihood of that actually contributing to land restoration, to reforestation, is really, really high. Because for them, the long term matters, because they're always thinking about the future of their children. So I think let's empower women and girls. Let's do it in a way that we create more harmony in families, because I think it's very important that it doesn't bring tensions, but it actually brings more harmony, more prosperity, and more sustainability to all. So, very good question. It's a difficult one to address because of the issues around family planning and how culturally this is seen. But I think if we really go the route of education of women and girls, we can create a space where we respect culture, but we also empower women and girls in the difficult challenges that we collectively have to solve in the next 7 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The second question will be from Dr. Arpiwi. Dr. Arpiwi is actually the coordinator of the Pongamia Pinata seedling and project in Bali.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good morning to Dr. Aliens, Dr. Himlal Baral, and everyone in this room. I'm glad here today to hear your nice presentation. This question I would like to address to Dr. Elian, sorry. I'm really sorry for the mispronunciation of your name. As I can see from your presentation, there are over 50% of the world forests, world tropical forests, have been destroyed. And on average, there is 137 species is endangered. And the temperature is predicted to be rise 30 degrees by the end of this century. Is that right? But 3 degrees, sorry. 3 degrees, yes, not 30.
Better not.
That's too extreme. 3 degrees, that's a lot, yeah? So my first questions, what are the main causes of this damage and destroy? And my second question, because your data is representing the tropical forests, do you have data of damage of forests and species extinction in the subtropical of the world, subtropical regions of the world? Subtropical. So your data is in the tropicals. And the next is not question, but I would like to share about our Pongamia pinnata small project in the slope of Mount Batur. So we have established Pongamia seedling seed orchard, which is a collection of Pongamia family, the best Pongamia family trees from Bali. So we have 30 best Pongamia family trees in Bali here, and we planted with CIFOR, funded with CIFOR, there in the slope of Mount Batur. So we aim to produce good quality of seeds, and then we use this seed to produce good seedling and to rehabilitate degraded land here in Bali. A small action, but we would like to do something useful to save this planet. So Pongamia is not only produce oil in the seeds for bioenergy, but also it's good source of carbon and oxygens and environment, releasing the nitrogen to the environment by fixing from the air. And we also planted here in biology department and MIPA faculty a small, maybe a few trees that's already produced seeds this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment and your question. Around your comment made me think of a story that Nobel laureate, the late Wangari Maathai, used to talk a lot about. It's the idea of the hummingbird. There was a forest fire happening, and the hummingbird would go to the lake, take a little bit of water, and try and put out the forest fire. And all the animals in the forest, they're like, "You hummingbird, what do you think you're going to do? You're never going to extinguish the fire in the forest." And the hummingbird just kept going back and forward and said, "You know, I will do everything that I can." And I think it's a really important message. It's, can we do everything that we can? And I think of, Wangari Maathai's legacy, and I had the pleasure of meeting her while she was alive. I mean, her legacy has helped plant over 1 billion trees. And so this is one hummingbird. So if all of us as hummingbirds, we collectively come together, that 1 billion hectares, that's going to need trillions of trees, we can get it done together. And so no project is ever small. And so around the temperate forests around the world, so what we know is that all the countries in the world, there's a commitment to protect 30% of biodiversity of land. And so I've been living in Canada for 34 years, and in our case, so Canada's commitment by 2030 is 30% protection. So right now, they're around 15–20%, so there's still a ways to go. We know that the degradation of forests in the temperate regions of the world was mostly up to the last century. So, but that they have started restoring. So the degradation of the deforestation is, has decreased in temperate areas, but we still need to reforest. And so if we look at the numbers around the world, what we know is that deforestation, has accelerated, especially in Africa, but the end of deforestation is really, has decreased a lot in Asia and Latin America and in Europe. And so what we need to do now is, that loss, we need to bend that curve and bring back the biodiversity everywhere on the planet. And that lack of biodiversity in the temperate regions is what is causing forest fires in winter in the boreal forest in Russia. It's what caused the town of Linton in British Columbia, that's really a temperate rainforest, to burn down. And so we know that the effects are everywhere on the planet. Nobody is not getting affected. And we also know that the higher you go towards the poles, that the North Pole, that the effects of climate change, because those are regions that really depend on the ice sheet to stay where it is, there's an acceleration of climate change effects, and especially for indigenous communities. And so what the work I was doing a lot in Canada was, how do we work with indigenous community using satellite data and machine learning, and really bring the best of indigenous knowledge and wisdom and the best of artificial intelligence to come together to say, how do we steward the work of indigenous communities in the global north to help countries achieve that 30% land cover? That is a lot in the stewardship on the lands where indigenous communities live. So in a way, the issues we find in the global south around restoration are also present in the global north. And this is where lessons learned on the both sides are critical, and sharing is really critical. And this is why indigenous communities coming together around the world for me is so critical. And given that, here we're both in, mathematics is important, I also find one of the initiatives that I've helped support that I was very excited about is the Indigenous Artificial Intelligence Protocol. How do we look at this digital age from an indigenous perspective? And so the colleagues I have, one of my colleagues at Concordia University, Jason Lewis, so we just before I left, an announcement for a $24 million project at that interface of indigenous knowledge, artificial intelligence, and how do we bring both together towards greater planetary intelligence? And so the project is about abundant intelligence from indigenous wisdom. So I think that is very critical and can be really strong ways for knowledge flow from the global north to the global south, and global south to the global north. So your question is very relevant. Everybody on the planet, whether you're in the global north or global south, you have to contribute what you can, and it's important to ensure that nobody is left behind in terms of the wisdom that they can bring to the table.
Thank you very much.
That's a very great answer. It is very important to remember that involving the people is indeed critical, very important to be able to achieve the goal. Okay, do we have next? Yes, from Ein. Please mention your name. It's a student. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. After this, okay? Sorry, I didn't see it. You're the fourth one. I think to see that direction.
Okay, thanks. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Kenwood Jingga. Actually, I'm not really asking a question, but I want to give my opinion. And I think my opinion is quite long, and maybe I have
make it shorter.
and maybe I have some help for translate my my opinion.
Definitely.
Okay. Before I'm giving my opinion, I want to apologize to all of you, and for the speaker, I really apologize if maybe my opinion is kind of menyakiti hati.
Offending?
Today's topic is about forest, and anything about the environment. But, I think it's just a propaganda. I think it's just a propaganda. Saya akan ambil contoh Elon Musk. Katanya menciptakan mobil listrik dengan tujuan apa? Untuk membantu menjadi seseorang yang ramah lingkungan. Dia menciptakan produk yang ramah lingkungan. Tetapi apa? Itu tidak mengubah apapun. Katakan satu mobil menggunakan bahan bakar listrik, tetapi apa? Mobil itu masih terbuat dari plastik, bannya masih terbuat dari karet, kacanya masih terbuat dari plastik, dashboard masih terbuat dari plastik, semuanya masih terbuat dari plastik. Ibu mau transit dulu atau tunggu saya selesai? Maaf Bu, saya nggak dengar Bu.
Yeah, you can continue, but maybe just keep focused and narrow down to what you want to address. Yeah.
Oke. Lalu begini, kita orang Indonesia dulu waktu saya kecil SD dikatakan Kalimantan itu paru-paru dunia. Kenapa? Karena hutannya paling luas, karena dia menghasilkan banyak oksigen, dia menjadi rumah bagi banyak spesies makhluk hidup, baik itu hewan atau tumbuhan dan lain sebagainya. Tapi saya rasa itu hanya propaganda. Mengapa? Karena kita orang Indonesia pola pikirnya, mindsetnya hanya dikekang untuk ayolah ramah lingkungan, ramah lingkungan, ramah lingkungan. Tapi apa? Siapa yang menciptakan propaganda itu kalau kita mau tahu? Mereka menyuruh kita ramah lingkungan, tapi mereka apa? Mereka membuat industri gila-gilaan. Mereka lebih besar. Bahkan Singapura yang luasnya lebih kecil, negaranya lebih kecil daripada kita. Tapi apa? Mereka sanggup menyaingi negara seluas kita dan sehebat kita. Mereka memiliki hutan dan ya environmental things itu sangat sedikit dibandingkan Indonesia. Tapi kenapa mereka bisa begitu maju? Kenapa kita pola pikir Indonesia hanya berfokus pada hutan? Saya tahu hutan itu penting dan lain sebagainya. Ya membantu kita menciptakan habitat bagi banyak makhluk hidup dan lain sebagainya. Tapi pola pikir kita terlalu berfokus kepada itu. Pada akhirnya kita melupakan hakikat-hakikat penting dalam suatu negara, di mana harus memajukan ekonomi dunia, membantu mencerdaskan kehidupan bangsa dan lain sebagainya. Kita hanya berfokus kepada hutan. Saya rasa itu propaganda yang benar-benar gila-gilaan. Mindset kita benar-benar dikekang oleh negara-negara adidaya. Nah, saya nggak akan lebih panjang lagi karena saya cukup menghabiskan waktu. Saya hanya ingin pendapat dari kedua pembicara di depan. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. So basically, he has some comments about how this sounds like just propaganda from the western part of the world. First example is the electrical car. You know, like when Elon Musk promoted, it says that it saves environment and everything. But then how about the plastic, how about the rubber, how about all the non-renewable materials that being used for the making or manufacture of this car? And second example also about how government keep on implying that you need to keep the forest and everything without really like paying attention for other aspects, education, economy, and so on. So yeah, I think it's kind of, is it correctly? Okay, you wanna give, you are in biology department, correct? Yeah. Please, your name again? I'm very sorry. Kenwood, thank you, Kenwood. Yeah, okay. Kenwood from biology.
I'm gonna start and then, okay. So, I think one of the things we have to realize is we live in an age of misinformation. So on the internet, we have 7 to 9 times more misinformation than information. I think it's important to realize that, you know, talking about Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is one of the wealthiest people on the planet, but he's one person. And I think we have to be really careful sometimes that we give more importance to the most wealthy people on the planet and not necessarily to the opinions of the most marginalized people on the planet. So a lot of indigenous populations, they depend on the forest for their livelihoods, for their nutrition, for fiber they use to, you know, for building materials. And every time we have deforestation, the market for indigenous people is destroyed. Because their market is every day they go into the forest and they get what they need. So I think that's just not propaganda, it's a reality. If I'm an indigenous indigenous person living in harmony with the forest and somebody cuts it down, I don't have what I need to feed my family. I don't have what I need to clothe my family and to build the materials that, you know, that I require. So in Canada, the indigenous peoples, they say they've been there for, you know, tens of thousands of years, and they've lived in harmony with nature for all that time. The Anthropocene, you know, the idea that human beings with industrialization have had an extractive relationship with nature is not propaganda. It's the reality. We have many places that were pristine nature, and now, you know, we have buildings, we have roads, we have infrastructure that's hard and that has very little green spaces on it. That's not propaganda. You go to Jakarta, you look, it's one of the most densely populated cities on the planet. You know, Jakarta and its environment is 35 million people. Indonesia is what, 270 million people? That's a lot of people. And so saying that we have no pressure on land is denying the reality of the pressure that we put as humanity on land. That's a very different, I'm not here to, you know, defend Elon Musk and his Teslas. They're beautiful cars. Are there issues around the circular economy and electric cars? Absolutely. That's undeniable. We all know that. And whether we look at the rare minerals that are important for electric cars, for our phones, you know, for all our gadgets, we know that many of those minerals are sourced in areas of high biodiversity and often in countries that are low and middle income countries. How do we extract the rare minerals we need in ways where we have returns that go to the local populations and where our electronic waste around the world is recycled in a circular economy, I think is a very important issue. That's not the work at CIFOR ICRAF we do. I'm going to pass it on to my colleague to talk about how we're working at that interface of food, biodiversity, and energy.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that's clarified. I'll just give you a couple of simple examples, which I'm sure you already know, we all know, but the forest and tree, the power of forest and tree is like, we are now in air conditioned like room, like inside here. So as long as we go outside, when we go outside and we need to stand for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I'm sure everybody will find the tree. So you want to go under the tree, like said. So that is where it's just said like that. You know, that's the power of tree. But that's the only shade like you get. So and then it start raining, so people go close to the tree when you are on the street. And you know, that's a very simple example, but that's what that's the tree provides. So and the tree is not asking anything from us, like, you know, it's not asking anything from us, but just they provide whatever they can provide. What just we heard from hummingbird, like, so she's trying her best. The tree is also trying her best or to provide services to us. So I will give you one example from Nepal. I'm from Nepal. So 1970s, we have it's all the mountains. You know, Nepal is mountainous country. 78% of country is mountainous and all, like, and the mountains were very, very much degraded, like no trees, because there was no electricity, no like all this cooking from fire, heating from fire, like firewood. So the forests were destroyed. And then we got a report from World Bank. So if this happens by 2000s, there will be no single trees remain in these mountains, and everything's like livelihood is impacted. So what happened, that bring to attention to people started planting trees. That same time, so people say this planting tree is propaganda or something, it's not going to serve the nature. But what happened from 2070 to 1970 to 1990s, now they restores millions of hectares of, like, you know, degraded land, planting trees. And now the country from 25% to now 46% forest cover. This is provide the water is, like, you know, the streams are recharged. So from 25% to 46, can you imagine? And then stream recharge, you got a clean water, the, you know, better food production for downstream communities. Otherwise the you know, the landslide goes to the agriculture, and production of agriculture production was diminished that time, but now agriculture production is increased. You know, multiple ecosystem goods and services are there. So it depends, like, what, where, and how. But trees, I don't know trees does anything bad. Like, it always does good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Evidence speak louder, always, right? So yeah, I think we need to be wise on see what's happened around us, not only believe from one source, but try to, try to see many examples around us which show us that forests and trees helps a lot. Okay, do we have more questions? Yes, oh, over there. Go ahead, please. Special time for you, sorry. Go ahead, please. Jika ingin bahasa Indonesia, silakan.
Okay, good morning for the Prof, Doctor, and all delegates in here, this place. Thanks for the opportunity. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Satrio. I am a biology student in a university. I want ask to both of Dr. Elia and Dr. Himlal. I want say that we all know that Indonesia is largest producer of palm oil in the world. It's contribute to up to 3.5% of our GDP, or 365 trillion rupiah to our GDP. I mean, to open the palm oil plantation, we attach deforestation. My real question is, what alternative choice can CIFOR bring to us or the government when palm oil is reduced, or when oil using or produce is reduced? I mean, up to 40 to 60% of Indonesian food is using palm oil. That's my question. Thank you.
So I think it's very important for us as scientists to respect countries and their GDP. Here's one of the wonderful things that, you know, our research is showing, is that if in between palm production you add biodiverse, diverse trees that produce ecosystem services, you actually increase the productivity of the trees while bringing back nature. So it's not about let's eliminate palm oil production, it's let's bring regenerative agricultural practices, diverse cropping systems to how we're producing palm oil. Because it's important that we meet the needs in terms of GDP of the country, and we also meet the nature needs and the national determined targets for the country. And I think it can be done in both ways. And actually, our Director General for CIFOR 2 days ago published a paper in Nature. So if you look up Robert Nasi, N-A-S-I, he wrote a letter to Nature on that exact subject. It came 2 days ago. And it's really about, all the challenges we have on the planet have wonderful solutions. And we at CIFOR ICRAF want to concentrate on how can trees, forests, agroforestry, and landscape resilience contribute to addressing the 5 challenges that I presented today. And so we can produce palm oil in a much more sustainable way for the planet while ensuring revenues for countries and for companies and smallholder farmers locally. And so we're excited to help scale this work and being in the conversation. And we were honored to host a roundtable around this issue in April. And so with the government and other stakeholders. And so this is why for us is we feel very lucky that we have a wonderful campus in Bogor, that we have staff all over Indonesia. And it's really how can the work we do be of service to growing the GDP of Indonesia, ensuring capacity and building jobs for young people like you, as well as ensuring that the entrepreneurs of tomorrow in Indonesia are entrepreneurs that are purpose-driven and that are doing work that not only brings profit, but also brings greater sustainability.
Do you want to add something? No? Good, okay. Satrio, you good with the answer? Thank you so much.
His colleague has a question.
Yeah, and you, Rafael, go ahead. Yeah, it's very exciting that all the students has really high spirit. Go ahead. You. Usually you don't need microphone. Yeah, just go. Yeah, just speak loud. Did you say pineapple, right? Yeah, okay. In the slide, okay, let me.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's a very important question. So the first farmer used to grow only rice, okay? So to burn it and grow rice, only one product coming, and there is not burning sites. They collect some piece here. Sometime that's just a piece, but without production, that's just naturally, so just a small amount. And a grass, and grass called purun grass, so that can make some mat. So no product coming. Basically, let's say 90% or 95% from rice. So this landscape that's being changed to when we did agro-silvophysary, our intention was not only to grow to the pineapple. The process was to ask them to the farmer. So okay, so at the moment this is your what we call business as usual scenario. So you are managing your land like this, but we would like to work with you and help you to manage your land like this, but the minimum is because this is a research funding coming from donors. They want to increase some forest cover, so there need to be certain tree species. You must plant some trees, but other than that, you are welcome to plant whatever you want to plant. And we did a focus group discussion. We asked them what they want to plant. They came with the idea, okay, we want pineapple. They are also planting bananas there. They are also planting mangoes, rambutan, many other fruits now actually. So the pineapple was just one of the species they planted. So that's one of the example. So after that, what happened is it becomes more diverse, like diversified food production. So income is actually from only rice is increased 3 times more, but when you count the income from other everything, it's much higher. We're still working on that. What is the exactly income increase? So basically, this is the initial or what we call like early finding is the landscape became more resilient, diverse, multiple products is coming. Then most importantly, no fire, so they don't burn. Like if they burn, they will destroy their products, their trees or crops. So no fire. So that's the biggest benefit.
Yeah. Do we have more questions from the audience? Okay, go ahead. Please, yeah.
So here's one of the reality. 1/3 of soils around the world are degraded from chemical contamination. What we know is, for example, in Africa, some soils are so degraded that they don't respond anymore to chemical fertilizer. And so one of the things that the more chemicals we put on soils, the less microbiomes, so the less insects, the less fungi, the less bacteria we have in soil. Healthy soils, when they have bacteria, fungi, insects, are like sponges. So usually that means that they have high soil organic carbon, and with high soil organic carbon, they can hold more water. So if you have floods, instead of the hard rains washing away the soil, the soil is able to hold more water. And in some cases, we've seen in Andhra Pradesh, 50 times more water when we have healthy soils. We know that diverse cropping systems decrease the need for pesticides. The more you do monocultures, the more vulnerability you have. When you do push-pull planting, where you plant the crop that you want to sell or cultivate for your family, and in between, you put natural predators or natural repellents of pests, you're able to grow in a more regenerative, ecological way. And so what we believe is we want to move away from extractive agriculture to knowledge-based agriculture. In some cases, we can have the needed financing to do so, and in some cases, we're going to need additional funding to get there. So I'm just going to ask Bilal to talk more about that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the way we would like to work. And if you, the other way we can helping, so going exactly to that community and helping is we can like you can be champion, like you are from that family, that village or that locality, so you can be champion. We can teach you, even we can bring you to show where you can come tomorrow actually with us to see how biodiverse farm, you know, multi-species farm or biodiverse farm produce more food and energy without putting chemical fertilizer. So you can look at this and you can convey this message to this farmer. I know it takes long time. It doesn't happen overnight. As I said, it's so 1970s. We took like I don't know 10 years to destroy 60 to 70. We destroyed a lot of like forest and clear the mountain, but it took 30 years, 40 years to restore. So it takes long time. And changing people's habitat habit, sorry, mindset is not quick thing. It takes long time. We can bring the best practices. We can share you those how much like income increase or yield increase with these practices. We can share you. You can tell them. The other thing what we can do is if subject to we have resources and funding, we can even demonstrate their if the farmers are willing to work with us, we can have a 1 hectare, 2 hectare demonstration plot with one control plot without with putting more chemical, more fertilizer, and another with multiple tree species. So, but we need someone to willing to participate there. So we bring their variety of tree species, and then they will know this. Seeing is believing. The example in Sumatra, what I mentioned before, there was no farmer was interested before. No one interested because we to start this agro-silvo fishery. But now we are only 12 farmers are participating there, but now many are in waiting list. But we don't have enough resources. That's why we are working to generate more funding, like secure more funding so that we can help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, farmers need evidence. Yeah, yeah. It takes. Okay, I think we are close to the end of the session. I believe you still have a lot of questions. So maybe if you don't mind. Yeah. You can contact by email. After this, you can ask directly the emails to discuss more. I also have a lot of questions, but I think I will save it for later. But I think this is why we have this meeting today, so we can have this connection and communication. So, for example, Chakra, if you're interested to do this example in your pilot project in your area, maybe one day, to give the education to the local people about how this will change in the long term. Yeah, in the long term. All right, I think we would like to really thankful, maybe Ibu Dekan, Ibu Din, you want to add something? I think to close our session, it would be great to have your, to close the session. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's great meeting actually. Thank you for both of you as speakers. Very nice to have you here to share the knowledge that already been delivered to us, and lots of question rises, so means that your information is very valuable for all of us. So since it's time already here, we close the session, so we would like to thank again for both of you and for all other participants who come to this event. So hopefully that what we get today we can implement, even though in a small way, but as Dr. Elian said, that it means a lot to us. So let's act from now on, even though we already act, but a bit more and more until we get what we want to achieve. So as a biologist now, it's a lot of biologists here and environmentalists, welcome from environmental science department. So we have to take care of our environment. and let's go and do together. Thank you very much. So, yes, for all you, have a good day.
Okay. Okay, before we end the session, actually, I apologize. I think I want to give one last chance for Elian, Dr. Elian, or Dr. Himlal. You know, we have a lot of students here, you know, just short message of hummingbird is our main message today, you know, everyone remembering that now. But, you know, if you have something to say before we end the session.
So just want to tell you, I remember being a 17-year-old student starting my undergraduate in agriculture. It was many, many, many years ago. And all of us here on this stage were one day first-year university students with big dreams. And I think what's important is nurture your dreams, be a hummingbird, identify other hummingbirds, and power is strength over time. It didn't take a day for us to get where we are today. It's taken decades. And so just know that we're here today, and we want all of you, even our controversial student who's like, I'm not sure if this is propaganda or not. We want all of you to be the leaders of tomorrow that are going to help humanity live in harmony with the planet. So one day we are going to be retired, and we hope all of you are going to be here stewarding the changes that humanity and the planet needs, and know that we were all 17, 20, 21, 22, and we're looking up to other people. I remember meeting Wangari Maathai and thinking, oh my God, she's so amazing. And so today, I'm the first African woman heading a CGIAR center in the world in the 50 years of the CGIARs. And so I want all of you students to break barriers and bring your leadership to humanity because we urgently need it. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today.
Wow. One big applause. Thank you very much. I think it's really great morning that we have together. You already gave many information and motivation to us all, especially all the students and us in biology. Finally, as closing words, we wish you a very great time in Bali, but also best wishes for your services, your coming works in CIFOR iCraft. Thank you from all of us in mathematics and natural science Udayana, and we'll have a visit tomorrow, maybe together, project. Okay, thank you so much, and see you in the next events. Thank you, all audience. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Fima, for leading the guest lecture. And now, please could stay on stage, because we are now arriving at the end of the guest lecture today. We would like to invite Prof. Watiniasi to have deliver a souvenir for Dr. Elian and Dr. Himlal. So this souvenir was a symbol of collaboration between FMIPA and CIFOR iCraft. Okay, thank you, Ibu. And there's also a souvenir from CIFOR. Please, Dr. Elian, to deliver the souvenir to Prof. Watiniasi. Okay. I invite Dr. Fima and Dr. Himlal to take a photo group. Maybe also with the placard too. Yeah, please be at the center. Okay, please stay there. Okay, thank you, and please have a seat. We would like to give thanks to all speakers for the time and effort that they have devoted in this sharing knowledge and experiences to all of us here. I believe that so many new information and knowledge have been picked by all of us in this fruitful event. Once again, and on behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to say thank you for all the attendees that here today, and we apologize should there be any mistakes that we are done or said during this event. We hope to see you all again in next time. Thank you, and Om Santi 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 Om. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya. And now we invite all of attendants to go in front of the stage, and we will take group photos. Oke, silakan teman-teman dari biologi, teman-teman peserta buat maju ke depan. Ya. Ya. Monggo. Silakan. Bapak Ibu dosen bisa berada di atas panggung dan teman-teman mahasiswa bisa di depan panggung. Untuk teman-teman mahasiswa bisa menyesuaikan space yang ada di bawah ya. Bisa jongkok, duduk, ikut dong. Guys, kalian masih bisa geser. Geser sini nggak? Itu yang di sana nggak muat. Geser ke kanan. Ya. Geser terus guys. Okay, it's done. Thank you, everyone. Siapa nih? Bajunya beda. Bapak nggak suruh saya lulus kan? Pak Martin dong yang suruh